Before we get in the video, please like, make sure to subscribe, turn on your notifications, go ahead and leave a comment below, and click on the how you can help, which brings up the Family Friendly Game website and gives you lots of ideas how you can help us. Thank you. Hey everybody, Paul Berry, Family Friendly Gaming. This is an FFG Politics on why America won't heal, or maybe will not heal. So, I've actually been thinking about this a lot, and people who have followed Family Friendly Gaming for a long time, who have read the books I've written, you know I wrote the Future Glimpses books. Okay, so I've actually written, it's a Christian science fiction series. And it kind of it started under Obama's presidency and looked at what was happening with the political left and the political right, and realizing that there's no way that we can keep going these opposite directions and America stay together. And a lot of this, I'm going to sit there and personally, historically, as I look at it, blame the political left for this, because every time they lose, they have their temper tantrums, they sit there and throw their hate speech out there. They sit there and call everyone sexist, racist, homophobes if you don't agree with them. Really, I mean, it's like you have to sit there and say and do everything they want, or they sit there and start calling you all these names, and they threaten to call you names, and they try to use extortion and all these other just horrendous criminal behaviors to get their way. Okay, so that's part one, is that every time they don't get their way, they have their little 2-year-old temper tantrums, and they're laying on the floor just because they don't get their way. They're gonna sit there and throw their little tantrum, and it's like, it's very hard to be mature when to them compromise is they get their way 100% of the time. Literally. I mean, I've talked to enough people on the political left to know they have to get their way 100% of the time, or they don't call it compromise. So they've had a long history of redefining words, redefining institutions, redefining everything that they want redefined. And now they've redefined words like compromise as they get their way 100% of the time. So it's kind of where I come down on that. And the political right generally is behind the political left in doing these things. So the political left does something new, the political right follows it, and they do it as well. So you've seen this just massive reaction when the media announced Joe Biden as the next president. And all these people on the political right are already talking about secession. They're already talking about what they can do to investigate and get rid of Biden. Not that Kamala Harris would be any better. Honestly, I think she'd be a whole lot worse, in my personal opinion, as a president. So you got that going on as well. And since, and I've seen a lot of people making comments on social media sites, and I understand that you got to be careful of social media with fake news, and they sit there and back each other up with all their fakeness and lies and everything. What I've seen a lot of is people who are making the point of, look, they've been nasty and hateful to us for 4 years because they didn't get their way, and doing everything they could to get their way, and they didn't care if they had to break the law, they didn't care what crimes they committed, whatever they needed to get their way. Whether they were sitting there threatening people, extorting people, burning down cities, it didn't matter as long as they got their way, right? And that's what it comes down to. They always have to have their way. So I don't think you can have a compromise. And if you think about this, you can think about this like in a kind of partnership or even like a marriage. If one party gets their way all the time, there's not reconciliation or healing with the other party. Why should they? If they're always cheating to get power, they're not going to sit there and compromise anything, right? And when they lose, they don't want to compromise either. They're like, no, we shouldn't have to compromise. I remember when Obama got elected, President Obama, he sat there and said, conservatives and Republicans, get to the back of the bus. We won the election. Elections have consequences. We get our way. Sit down, shut up. That's what he said. Now, I may have paraphrased it or moved some things around. It wasn't an exact quote. But he, in essence, told people that were on the opposite political spectrum, you're not represented. You're not, we don't have anything to do with you. You just sit down, shut up, and give us our way. Ultimately. So, when you come to President Biden, or right now it's President-elect Biden, you come to him, and he's like, I'm gonna be president to all Americans, but let's look at everything he's been doing with all his cabinet picks. Not one person on the political right, not one conservative, not one Christian. In fact, people who are hostile to Christians, people who are hostile to conservatives, more alligators or snakes from the swamp of corruption coming back. There's a lot of these Obama people coming back who were just horrible when they were there in the first place, and now they're coming back. You're like, wait, what? We're getting the swamp of corruption again? Like, this isn't representing all Americans. This is just representing the elites in Washington, D.C. Literally. So then you go, well, then we're not being represented. He's not my president. You know, if he's not going to represent us, he's not going to, do anything that we want done, then how is he our president? Literally. I mean, think of this. He sit there and, I hate to say it, but I've seen it my entire lifetime, going back to President Bill Clinton. They'll sit there on the campaign trail. They'll tell you whatever you want to hear. They get in office and do the opposite. In fact, I remember hearing audio tracks from President Clinton talking to groups on the exact opposite side of the spectrum. So he's telling a pro-abortion group he's going to make sure that they get to have all the abortions they want, whenever they want, however they want. Then he tells a pro-life group he's going to sit there and fight for the sanctity and life of babies before they aren't being born, they're being murdered. And guess which of those two he did, right? He did the first one. So he lied to the second group. And that's been one of my irritations with politics, is there is no accountability of politicians. And I think we should, and then people always go, well, you can vote. Yes, we do vote every single time. Even though, quite honestly, where I'm located, my vote doesn't matter. I am in a blue county in a red state. You got that? Makes sense? If I vote for anyone red in the blue county, I don't get them. I get no local representation that's red. I get all blue. And when we talk to the state level, I get all red. So ultimately, what it comes down to is it's like I realize my vote doesn't matter. I hate to say it, but it doesn't. Now that we find out about all the different voter frauds and Dominion machines and all the shenanigans and the cheating that happened, it's like you go, I can vote. And then, all the stuff in Pennsylvania and Michigan, like Atlanta and Georgia, they can sit there and cheat us out of the right outcome, out of the proper outcome, out of the legitimate outcome, as they put a bunch of fake votes in there, dead people voting, all this stuff that's always happening. And it's always odd. I always find this interesting, that all these people are voting Democrat. How is that possible? Interesting. All these dead people and mentally ill people are voting for the Democrats. What's that tell you? Tell you what it tells me. It tells me that they're cheating. And I said, I was in Washington State when Dino Rossi was cheated out of an election, and they gave it to Christine Gregoire after counting 3 times, and then they kept finding votes in King County. Guess what? King County is majority Democrat. That's right. And Democrats kept finding all these ballots. Oh, we have these boxes of ballots in someone's trunk of their car. What happened to chain of custody? Where is how do we know these are legitimate votes? And they're just sitting there, every vote counts, every vote counts. How do we know they're real votes? How do we know they're legitimate votes? There were reports in the 2020 election, presidential election, of photocopied votes that looked like somebody had made one ballot and then photocopied, hundreds of them, and then put them all in there and they counted them all. I haven't heard of one audit of these votes to make sure they actually were legitimate. And this is part of the reason why America will not heal. It is because you have 2 different narratives. And the fake news gets really angry that they're not the only narrative. They want to be the only narrative, and they want to sit there and brainwash everyone into their myopic viewpoints, and they have absolutely no tolerance for diversity of thought, which is a shame. And that's one of the reasons why I'm doing videos like this, because I put some diversity of thought out there. And I really hope people do actually think. Not just go like, oh yeah, well, it's all good, it's all great. No. Half of America does not feel it's good or great. And the only solution I see is America splitting in 2. And I hate to say that, but that's what I put in the Future Glimpses books, because that's the only solution I can see working anymore. When you have people who want to have words define the exact opposite, there's no, not only is there no healing, there's no communication. We can't even talk to each other anymore. If you sit there and say, We got good traditional values, and to someone else that's hate speech. You know, what to one side that's wonderful, that's to be applauded, and that side that's hateful. You know, you can't communicate, let alone heal. And I don't see this getting any better. I really don't. I see it as just America's got to split. And I'm sad that that's where we're going. That's the path we're on. I mean, I know it's kind of funny because when President Trump was elected, California was talking about secession. They wanted to secede. You know, now you have Texas and other states want to secede because of Joe Biden. Like I said, he doesn't represent us, and he's not going to. So, you know, I don't think healing's ever going to come, because you can't sit there and be so hateful and then expect people to come back to the table and shake your hand afterwards. It just doesn't work that way. You know, they're going to be long-term grudges because of what the people have done. So I thank everyone for watching. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye!